All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for tuning in once again to our corner stage showcase. And tonight we have Peggy Yoder here with us, and she's going to talk about poetry in general, but she's also going to talk specifics about her poetry and how she writes her poetry, how it all comes about. And she's going to give you a lot of really cool information. We were talking before the show tonight, and she was telling me some of the stuff she wants to share with you, and it was all new information to me, and I was like blown away with all the stuff that she's going to bring to the table. So hopefully, if you're interested in writing of any kind, you'll get some good information here with Peggy, and you can leave a comment down below if you have any questions or anything specific you'd like to ask. Please drop that in the comment section below. Give us lots of hearts and likes and thumbs up. That helps with the algorithms for Facebook to be pushing us out to more audience people. And also make sure you donate. Please give the link below, the PayPal link. You can give as little or as much as you like, and all the donations will go to the Corner Stage Arts and Education Center Fund. And eventually we'll have our own big building. We won't be stuck in this little tiny corner here.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we want to have a nice big facility for arts and education here in Clearfield County. And so that's what we're striving for. And Peggy was gracious enough to offer her talents here tonight, teaching us about poetry. And she's got some really cool stuff, and she's got an emotion wheel here. She's going to go through that, and we're going to have lots of fun. I've never really followed poetry. I don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm going to sit back here and learn. And I think it's going to be fun. And so make sure you share this with your friends. Make sure you push this all through Facebook and let everybody know what we're doing here at the Corner Stage Showcase. And again, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, leave that down below. And please donate. Every little bit helps. $5 here and there will go a long ways towards the Arts and Education Center. So I think that's good enough for an introduction. What do you think, Peggy?
I think it's good.
Close enough?
Yeah, send lots of hearts because they go.
Yes, send lots of hearts. And I'll let Peggy know whenever you give her thumbs up and stuff, and we'll give her lots of encouragement. And so Peggy's going to start out reading kind of a little bit of a disclaimer just to encourage you, if you are a writer or a creative person and you're putting your stuff out there in public, you always want to protect your, what do you call that? Your
intellectual work.
Your intellectual work, yes, your intellectual property. So she's going to read a little disclaimer right at the beginning, and then she'll jump right into it, okay?
I will.
Okay.
Let's go.
Peggy Yoder.
In a public domain, give credit where credit is due. Social media is one of the worst for copyright infringement. It is of the utmost importance to protect my own intellectual work or rights by making my copyright policy clear. I have created all content, and any excerpts from a film, broadcast, or writing will be acknowledged and or accredited upon request. Sincerely yours, Peggy S. Yoder. So I wrote this out, and so I could explain parts of poetry, like the words, the creative words you use. So I called it On Paper from Ink, an evolution of my poetic self. And I would like to recite a quote from Hamlet from William Shakespeare. It says, "We know not what we are, but know not what we may be." So first, I'd like to say that I'm here tonight to support the future Corner Stage and Arts Education Center. Please donate. A few months ago, Steve shared his love for creating art through his drawings and paintings, and how this carried over to the career he has now. In the same sense, I'd like to share how I create poetry. Through reading examples of my poetry, I will explain how language stimulates the reader or listener's senses by the use of descriptive words that add creativity, emotional intensity, and imagery. I will demonstrate the use of metaphors, similes, and personification, in addition to comparisons, contrasts, and connotations as I link them with my poetry. To me, in my perspective, poetry is being a wordsmith. The definition, the skilled use of words from a young age, knowing fully the words that describe your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I believe being the youngest of 6 siblings helped me understand my words more thoroughly. In his video, Steve also talked about his childhood memories of drawing. My first recollection of how thoughts, feelings, and emotions connect with words was in the first grade when Mrs. Glossner wrote on the chalkboard the letters CH and SH, then the word machine. Her lesson was how the letters CH can have an SH sound. She divided the class along each side of the room. Some of the students were sounding out and trying to make sense of this new word, machine. Some students were not paying attention, and after about 15 minutes, a few students were crying from frustration. At this point, I believe Mrs. Glossner may have felt the same. I'm reading the emotions on her face while observing the reality going on around me. I noticed her watching me get closer to pronouncing the CH as an SH. Then, after a moment, I blurted out correctly the word machine. Victory was all mine. I'd like to demonstrate. I'd like to demonstrate how all this went down on the wheel of emotion. So, first we started out with surprise because we were all excited and energetic. And then we moved to the blue. After about 15 minutes, we moved into the blue, and she became anxious. In the fear zone, she became anxious. And then from there we went into anger as she became frustrated because no one was getting it right or paying attention. So, and if you're hovering in these blue zones on the emotional wheel, you're in emotional dysregulation. It means your wheel is a little off. So we want to keep our wheel balanced.
And I checked in the sound levels on Facebook, and your voice is coming through really well. You sound good, and the video is real good. And we have 7 viewers watching right now.
Hi, 7 viewers. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So, after I blurted out the word machine correctly, well, my first grade teacher went into the happy zone. Aren't these rays of sunshine? Because she felt accepted, fulfilled, and respected. And I believe my first grade teacher felt accepted because someone finally got it right, fulfilled because all those years of teaching finally paid off, and she felt I didn't give up, I stayed focused, and I took her instruction. And this is my first recollection of how thoughts, feelings, and emotions connect us with our words. So, emotion is a feeling such as happiness, love, caused by the situation you are or the people you are with, like my first grade teacher, with all of us kids not, paying attention, crying out of frustration. So, feelings, there's a difference between feelings and emotions. Emotions start as a sensation in the body, anger in our head or chest, anxiety in our chest or gut, or as a lump in our throat. Feelings are generated from our thoughts about emotions and how we interpret emotions and let them sink in. So I think of a verse from the song Over My Head by Fleetwood Mac. It says, your mood is like a circus wheel all the time. Sometimes I can't help but feel you're wasting all. So that song must have been from someone that was in a little bit of maybe. So our mood relates to our feelings. A mood is a temporary state of mind that relates to our feelings, a situation, or idea. Moods can be positive or negative. So knowing your words and how they make you feel helps you to create. This is where I come in. I write short poems in lyrical form. And here's a poem from Robert Frost. A quote says, poetry is when an emotion has found its thought and the thought has found words. And I write lyrical poetry. Lyrical poetry expresses personal emotion, feelings, and ideas by using a distinct style and rhythm through using words that fit the subject to perfection. So this is one that I wrote. It's an example of a short poem in lyrical form. The leaves are turning orange, and the woolly worms are too. The birds have all gone quiet, and the grass is wet with dew. The earth begins its turning for the autumnal equinox, and soon we will be searching for a heavy blanket and our warm and fuzzy socks. So I used imagery, and it adds creativity through describing a scene. Imagery, in a literary or poetic sense, is the author's use of descriptive, vivid language, deepening the listener's understanding of the work by appealing to the senses. Imagery is language that stimulates and evokes the senses through touch, taste, smell, sound, and sight. I will give examples using my poetry to explain. So let's do sound. Okay?
Speaking of sound, I'm mic here because we have some problems with the mics kind of cutting in and out, and I don't know if it's mic or I don't have a strong cell signal. We got everything. Everything was recorded, but for like a half a second, your voice would cut out and then it'd come right back.
Okay.
So let's see if that helps.
All right. Good. Okay. So the first sense we'll do is sound. Okay. The ability of written words to create sounds, noises, or music in the mind of the reader. Some poems have a soundtrack. This one I wrote. It's called Sounds the Nighttime Brings. Listening to the sounds the nighttime brings, the owls, crickets, katydids, and things, their screeching, meeping, chirping, and clicks, all in a chorus on their sounds I transfix. The melody of them all floods the stage, as if they are telling me these are the last of the summer days. So, auditory imagery in poetry, and there's consonants, like the repeating sounds of consonants in a short phrase, like this, since St. Patrick's Day is coming up, this is an example. It says, Patty's potatoes were prepared to perfection, or hickory dickory dock. That's consonants, repeating sounds. So this one is rumblings of a train. There's a heaviness in the air before it begins to rain. The sound that carries on it is the rumblings of a train. A slow roaring engine, tons of heavy steel, grinding under pressure from the weight upon its wheels. Its cars all joined together with their clanging and their clacks, all these sounds that I am hearing as it moves along its tracks. The echo of the whistle, so woeful and so long, fading in the distance as the train keeps rolling on. So that's sound, that's auditory imagery in poetry. And the next one I'll do is sight. This is an imagery connecting with the reader through time and space in the moment, having an imaginative or sensitively emotional style of expression. I wrote this about my granddaughter, Nora. This is the sight, the sense of sight. I love to watch you as you fall asleep, rubbing your blanket against your cheek. Eyes are heavy from a day filled with play, and now it's time to drift away, where little ones go when they're fast asleep, after hearing a nursery rhyme like Little Bo Peep. A kiss on the head and a little drink. It's time to be still and fall fast asleep. Now, with this poem, I won an honorable mention to the Pennsylvania Poetry Society. It was the Who's News and Prize Poems Award. And I'd like to show, this is the prize poems in 2003, the Pennsylvania Poetry Society. Now, they don't print your work when it's just an honorable mention, but my name is right there. Who's News and Prize Poems Award. My name is right there. So I'm kind of proud of that. It says at the request of contest sponsor, only one honorable mention was awarded. So all the poems that were submitted across the state of Pennsylvania, my one poem won an honorable mention. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's a big deal to get published, or to get mentioned, and to put yourself out there. Because a lot of people, I think, write and create artwork and things like that, but they kind of keep it to themselves. But to put it out there, that's a big deal.
That's why I wanted to bring the proof. It's like, I did it. I did it. And actually, I've got 6 poems pending for this year, so I'll know in March whether they went anywhere or not.
Right.
Okay, now this poem, I'm just working with, most of these poems were written during the COVID shutdown when, the biggest thing you had to do was pick which window to stare out of. So this is one, this is the closest one I had to, for the sense of taste. So, and I wrote in the side note, staring out the window during COVID shutdown, looking forward with anticipation since the lack of fresh fruit and veggies from COVID hoard buying. So this adds creativity through drawing the reader or listener into an experience or emotion. Describe a scene with originality to keep the reader or listener engaged. Okay. So in my neighbor's yard across the street, the blossoms are fully blooming on their pear and apple trees, seeming even brighter, all their shapes and forms, against a dark backdrop of clouds from an upcoming storm. The green on their grass, a vivid hue. They've planted a garden and anticipate its produce. They sell it on a stand, on a cart in their yard. Green peppers, tomatoes, and on occasion a squash. So many of us throughout the neighborhood enjoy from your table what you've grown that is good. So I was anticipating those fresh tomatoes and things they were going to put on that cart in their yard.
Speaking of friends and all that kind of stuff, do you want me to give you a list of names of people that's watching and commenting so far?
Sure, yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Give them a little shout out. So
hi.
There's Debbie Nicely.
Oh, hi, Deb.
And Casey
Politis. Casey Politis, yeah.
All right.
Hi, Casey.
Lori Yoder Green.
Lori Yoder Green, hi.
Joan Mitchell Schimmel's watching.
Hi, yeah, she told me she would today. Thank you.
And Wanda Lou Wolf.
I'm not sure who that is. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I might know your face, but maybe not your name. I apologize.
Yeah. So that's people that have commented, and then we have a couple of likes and thumbs up. Lisa Tubbs Boyle. Let's see if you got any other ones in. Yeah. So lots of people tuning in.
That's encouraging.
Good. Thank you.
Because some people aren't into poetry. In my poetry, I like to keep it short and sweet. Uh-huh. That's the lyrical part. It's just good. Subjects fit the word to perfection. Uh-huh. The words fit the subject to perfection. I said that backwards.
Are you going to tell the story about the dictionary that you told me before? Not right now, but like. Yeah,
I will. As soon as I go over my last sense, the smell.
Okay.
Because we might need a little applause on this one. Okay. So smell. It's the olfactory sense receptors and sensations. So we start out with a fragrant smell. Aroma is a pleasant smell, so it has a positive connotation. With the emotion connected to that is happy, peaceful, inspired, or optimistic. So this one is called honeysuckle air. Sitting here in my backyard chair, smelling the sweetness of honeysuckle air, soft and pink, they've burst into bloom 2 weeks before the month of June. Lilacs, dandelions, violets, and such. These are the things that I love very much. Created by the master with an artist's touch. I thank thee for sharing these things that I love, the lilacs, dandelions, violets, and such. So that was a positive connotation there, the aroma, fragrant. So we will do the complete opposite of that. The smell is malodorous, a distinctive odor that is offensively unpleasant. So it has a negative connotation. So now this first quote, a friend of mine sent me this quote and said, hey, can you finish this one off with a poem? So the first beginning of the poem, it's a quote from Gaming Lair. And it's called She Ratchet Means. That's where this quote came from. A fart is the lonesome cry of an imprisoned turd. I've got something on my mind you may have already heard. My gut not certain of how it feels. My cheeks clenched as tightly as my fingers on the steering wheel. There's a sweat on my brow. I'm anxiously in the zone. Sorry for speeding, officer, but I really need to get home. After pulling over... I'm not done yet. I'm not done.
But that's the funniest part of that one.
Oh, well, I haven't finished.
Oh, okay, go.
Okay. My gut not certain of how it feels. My cheeks clenched as tightly as my fingers on the steering wheel. There's a sweat on my brow. I'm anxiously in the zone. Sorry for speeding, officer, but I really need to get home. After pulling over and putting the window down, I looked over at his face that was wearing a questioning frown. Was that a fart? Well, some of it. I have digested, and I really need to get. He let me go without any doubt, because I think the officer smelled what I was talking about. Now the applause.
Now, there we go.
So that emotion connected to that would be in the disgust section of the wheel. It disgust, and that goes into avoidance and disapproval, revolted, depends on the severity of the offense. Then you slip into the sad part of the wheel where you feel guilty, abandoned, or indifferent.
So what's that word that you said earlier?
Malodorous.
Malodorous.
That's a descriptive word.
That's a very good word. I like that.
Yes. Yeah, it's very descriptive, and you point to these on the wheel, and there's disgust, and we've all had those experiences.
Uh-huh.
And then you go into the sad where you're guilty, abandoned, and indifferent. People just kind of leave the room. Okay, so this one I'm going to do like a young versus old. The imagery is transports the reader through time and space. So I'm just using these to just to like a versus thing, young versus old. This is called Fireflies. Summer nights are here as the fireflies flash. I watch them light up, and it takes me back to my childhood days when I held them in my hands. How easy it would be to do it again. But we seem to forget how these were the things that filled us with wonder when discovering how it all was magical, the way that they glow on a summer's night not long ago, when we used to be outside at night, content to wonder how fireflies light. And this is versus getting older. Getting older is hard to do, not quite able to do the things we used to. Sitting and standing become more of a challenge, and then when we walk, you fear losing your balance. Your head grows bald, and there's pain in your hips, and your toenails start looking like Frito-Lay chips. Your teeth turn yellow and then fall out. Some people tell you you've become such a grouch. But it's no wonder that we act this way. I haven't pooped in over 3 days. I'll have to write prune juice on my grocery list and buy some Depends for the times that I piss. I guess it's all worth it not to be young, gaining some knowledge and much wisdom. So when you're young, you're carefree and you're out there catching fireflies, and then when you get older, you're trying to walk without losing your balance, you're watching your hair fall out, and
you got lots of laugh emojis on that one.
Well, I'm bringing them into the scene with my descriptive words. Okay, now where am I here? Okay. Gonna find, okay, let's say metaphors. Metaphors make a direct comparison between two things that are generally not related or similar, but shares a specific quality or characteristic that is emphasized through the comparison. Okay, and we have, where's my number one? I need my number one paper, and I will describe. Okay. Oh, here it is. Is it? Okay. Now, personification is it's the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristic to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. A person, animal, or object regarded as representing and embodying a quality, concept, or thing. Okay, so this is my poems to describe personification, a poetic device where animal, plant, or even inanimate objects are given human quality. Okay, so this is Mr. Moon. Hey, Mr. Moon, do we have a date? I like your shine, so we'll stay up late. You rise above, and I'll walk beneath. We'll have fun, our secret we'll keep. Let's cast shadows on this night. It is ours. Before you must go in just a few hours. So I'm personifying the moon as maybe a lover. You're putting an object that means figuratively describing it with human traits in order to craft a vivid image for that object in your reader's mind. So, if that's how it came across, then that's how I meant it. Like having a love affair with the moon. I love the full moon, so I personified it as a lover. So this next one is called Mr. Spider. I met Mr. Spider on the way out the door. He said, "You don't mind if I come in? I'd like nothing more." My reply to Mr. Spider is that it is never safe to assume, and took him by surprise when I pushed him with my broom. So that was personifying it to make it seem like it has a more human quality, Mr. Spider and Mr. Moon. And this next one is having an imaginative or sensitively emotional style of expression. And I just wrote this one on the 27th of January. It's called The Face of the Man on the Moon. Searching an overcast sky to witness your light, catching a flash of your face on a full moon night. But a blanket of clouds cover your head like a child playing peekaboo in its bed. Up and down the blanket slips. Slowly but surely I'll get a glimpse. Somehow the face of the man on the moon exists, seeing how you're really up there and not just a myth. No applause? Guess it wasn't applause worth.
No, I have my earphones plugged in.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So you're not listening. You listening?
Well, I'm making sure that the sound quality is good and all that.
Okay. Now, a connotation. Oh, I have to find my. Where's my words? These are numbered and they're out of place.
Sometimes that happens. You know what I was thinking? What? I'm going to come over there since I moved that microphone over there.
Well, I can't do this next part unless I find my paper.
Yeah, well, I came over here because I moved the other microphone up front. I had it back there, and I think that's what was causing the sound issue earlier. But I had a question or a thought as you were reading that last poem. Let me see if I can recall what it was now that I walked up here. I lost my train of thought. Let me think here.
What was it? Did it have to do? It have to do with Mr. Spider or Mr. Moon?
Well, personification, and then it made me think of something we talked earlier. Whenever before we started, I know what it was. You had come into my shop here several months ago, and you were saying that you enjoyed the corner stage showcase and all that kind of stuff, but you were having a hard time getting back into writing. You were struggling to start writing again. You had all these poems from years ago, but then lately, maybe the last 6 months to a year, you've been struggling being able to write, coming up with anything creative. Is that in your notes to share tonight?
No, but I'm glad you brought that up because I got away from it for a while because you have to be in a certain frame of mind to create. But as I started doing this and writing down like the process of it, the personification, the metaphors, the connotations, it's like you're seeing how you create. So that gives you kind of a script to create, and then it
gives you a purpose or a focus to work towards.
Then you just kind of fit the words in there and just come up with ideas. Like, say if I hear a line in a song or a phrase or someone just saying something in a conversation or reading something, I'll just write it down. I mean, my notebooks are just. I have notebooks.
She's got a whole bin full of notebooks and papers over here.
This is what it looked like when I wrote this out. Like, I don't have a computer or anything, and it's like I'll have to read it up.
You handwrite everything, don't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This turned into this.
Okay.
This is from On Paper from Ink, An Evolution of My Poetic Self.
Gotcha.
Well, that's it right here, and this notebook's full of stuff. Mm-hmm. I just keep like personification, and you just get in there and you write down what personification is.
Yeah, and that helped you focus because you were struggling with coming up with creative writing and stuff. And then you came in and said you wanted to try to put a poetry night together here for the corner stage. And then since you made that commitment, all these poems and all these words and all this inspiration has been just overwhelming her. And she's been writing stuff down. She said she's got pains in her fingers.
I got lump on my finger and there's a dent in my finger.
Writing so much.
Yeah, because I can't type it out. I mean, I go to the library and type it out, but I mean, I don't have a computer at home.
Yeah.
And I need one because it's like it'd be much easier, but sometimes I'll get up in the middle of the night. Now, at the very end of this, I wrote one that's, I got up in the middle of the night and wrote it. It's called Up from Slumber. So if you stick around, I think you'll like it.
That'll be,
that's good. The one I shared with you. Yeah. So,
yeah. But I just thought that was so beautiful that she was having a hard time finding her place in creative writing and getting back into the groove of things. And then she got connected with the Corner Stage Showcase. Well, me and Peggy have been connected for the last couple of years. Peggy comes down to the corner concerts at Lower Whitmer Park just about every Friday night, every show.
You never know what you're
we're Facebook friends, and I mean, we communicate back and forth, and she's been a huge supporter of what I'm doing. And so she came into my shop and said, "Hey, I'd like to put a poetry night together. What do you think?" And I said, "Go for it." And so since then, she's put all this information together, all the ins and outs of all the wordsmithing and all that stuff. Like all that came from what in the last last month or two. Yeah. And it's just amazing to me. So I'm going to get back over to my seat and answer your questions.
Some of it started out. Now this is a college dictionary, and it came from the Purchase Line High School, and it was new in 1968. And I got this from my math room. Mr. Russell, my teacher at that time at Purchase Line High School, said, all the books and things around here, we're going to do some remodeling over the summer, and anything laying around is going to go. And my dad was looking for a dictionary, so I got this. And I used to use this a lot before, I could look it up like I didn't have a phone when I was in high school. And it was like you wouldn't believe how much information is just in a little bit, like a bird, say, for example, there's the bird. You're going to know everything about that bird in just this little bit of information. I mean, it's very detailed. And so that gave me the idea of, like, lyrical poetry is short. And you fit as many words, descriptive words in there as you can, to describe everything you want to say. So that was kind of influenced me too. And my dad used it a lot. And so that just gave me an idea of, I didn't know what poetry was. I mean, I knew what it was, but I mean, I never thought about really creating it. But this was just an idea in my head about how, you can describe and, just in a few words, like the whole, like that bird was described, like so much of it in just that little paragraph. So that was just, creative thing, I guess.
Very cool.
Thank you. Okay, so this next one is like a connotation is the use of a word to suggest a different association than its literal meaning. So blue is a color, but it's also a word used to describe a feeling of sadness, as in she's feeling blue. A contrast is an observable difference between two things. So I thought I would use this poem, Pink. Okay, pink, because I'll tell you. It says, pink is on the blossoms of my neighbor's apple tree, buzzing with excitement is a hungry bumblebee. Pink is in the morning, signaling a storm to come, or pink is in the morning when the day is finally done. Pink is even what they called our last full moon, and now I'm the one turning pink on this sun-filled afternoon. So it's observable differences, like, the things that were pink, the blossoms on the tree, the color of the sky in the morning compared to the evening, and the pink full moon compared to me turning pink on a sun-filled afternoon because I got sunburned. It says, I wasn't blue the day I wrote this, but I was a little pink. Now, a pink full moon represents the pink flowers that bloom during the full moon in April. On Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024, we'll be seeing our full pink moon. Now, you can literally hear Pink, the music artist Pink, or the song Pink from Aerosmith. And what I like about that song, it all rhymes. So if you go to a Pink Floyd, how about that? Is that a coincidence or what?
Pink Floyd.
So if you want to look up those songs, the song like
we didn't plan that
Aerosmith Pink. No, it's like, isn't that's funny? There's little synchronicities.
Yeah.
So if you go to look up, say, that the Pink song from Aerosmith, go to official use. You can look at the lyrics and keep an open mind if you look up the video, because you're going to see things you can't unsee on that video. So I just wanted to put that out there. So the next we'll contrast. So we'll contrast. Did I say what a contrast was? I did. So I'm going to contrast, like, from my first apartment when I moved in. I'm going to contrast from when I moved in to the time I've moved out of the apartment. So, standing in the doorway of apartment number 1, drinking a cup of green tea from my favorite old gray mug. As robins say goodnight and the frogs are waking up, I think I'll light the kettle again and have another cup. Spending my days serenely the way I like to do, not looking forward to the day when someone moves in to apartment number 2. So I moved in. No one was living next to me. It was pretty great. I was living serenely. And then, so this was in April 19th of 2019. So a few months later, I wrote this one. This was June 13th of 2019. The way I live is different now. Nothing quite the same. Never knowing who's living next to me. Are they normal or insane? The situation changes sometimes up inside this house. Are they abusing drugs, a partner, their children, or a spouse? I try to keep it kosher when all this shit goes down, living in this apartment house on the outer edge of town. So in just a few months, things changed with people moved in next to me. So I moved in August of 2020. I did a complete contrast. So, that's what a contrast is.
A lot can change in a short amount of time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was serene when I first moved in there. It was great. And then people moved in it was crazy. So, okay. Being only 2 days after Valentine's Day, I find it appropriate to read a few love poems. Love is an emotion that combines 2 primary emotions, so love might make you feel trust. Many songs come to mind when it comes to love, or words considered deeper than love. So can you think of a song about words that say we're deeper than love? I think of Bee Gees, How Deep Is Your Love? So words considered deeper than love include adoration, infatuation, devotion, obsession, and fervor. So have you ever heard a song with the word fervor in there? No. Adoration, Frankie Valli's My Eyes Adore You. So if you can't find a song with the word fervor, you just write a poem about it. Fervor.
That would be a hard word to rhyme with. Fervor.
I did it.
You did it.
I did it.
All right.
Okay. Now, remember, fervor is an intense, passionate feeling. Say, your color of eyes, your smoothness of skin, that look on your face with its sensual grin. From across the room, a quiet observer, hum thoughts of you fill me with fervor.
Aha!
Fervor. Okay, now I'm linking that with an Edgar Allan Poe quote. This maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. So where is my love poems? I thought I was organized, but it seems that I'm not really.
Creative people.
Oh, here it is. It's right in front of me. I kind of am. Like I said earlier, I'm a practical poet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't write those long flowing poems. It's like, that's not me. So, okay, now we're going to go over each of these words carries its own unique connotation and can be used to express a deep and intense feeling of affection or attachment towards someone or something. Emotional intensity can add creativity, which helps to visualize and understand. Creativity, drawing a reader or listener into an experience or emotion, describes characters, scenes, or events with originality to keep reader or listener engaged. So, my first poem is they're compared like a simile, okay, is a figure of speech that compares two things by using the words like or as. An example, he's as strong as an ox, strong like bull, or busy as a bee. So these poems are like comparisons, and the first one is I love you like a raging fire, which is these are aspects of love. An aspect is a part of or feature of something. I love you like a raging fire, a provocative aspect. I knew there was magic, something in the air, by the width of your smile and the weight of your stare, catching glimpses and then they're refused. I want you to know what it's like to be seduced. Playing a game of cat and mouse, anticipating the invite back to your house. Now, I kind of stumbled over that one. That didn't sound very provocative, but that's an aspect of love. It's like the emotional landscape of the poem, a feeling associated with a particular place or environment, and a contrast as a noun is an observable difference between two things when compared. So the next one is like a heart of gold. The aspect is like an inquisitive aspect. A heart as good as gold is this one. It's like, I think I did something I should not have done. When you caught my eye, I think I fell in love. You looked at me so sweetly, a sparkle in your eye. How could I feel love for any other guy? Please proceed with caution. I think you ought to know that when I fall in love, it will surely continue to grow. So the aspect of good as gold, that your heart is good as gold. And then we will compare that to the aspect of, cold as a stone, aspect is indifferent, cold and indifferent. And this one is called You Know the Truth by the Way It Feels. My heart needs searching and my soul needs a friend. Who will I walk with this life with until it comes to an end? There's no guarantee that I will ever find someone who'll treat me special, someone who'll be kind. I've learned this lesson well. Don't trust the people who say I love you when they have no love for themselves. So the power of imagery, you can, picture like, cold, a cold heart of stone. That's an aspect, a part or feature of something. So those were aspects of love. And I hope that came through okay because I kind of
Sounded good to me.
I didn't flow through it as well as I thought I would. I think I'm gonna take a drink. So
there you go.
Is anyone still out there?
Oh yeah, yeah. We got at least 4 people watching live right now, and Joan Schimmel just donated, so thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Joan.
And Casey's giving you all kinds of applause, hand claps.
Yay, Casey!
Debbie Nicely still here. So Casey said, "Chug, chug, chug, chug."
It's vitamin water. So, what do you work on branding, right? Your
Yes.
brand. So I'm drinking vitamin water, and I told Steve today when I come in, it's like I noticed on this bottle, their branding. It says we never understood the whole when life gives you lemons thing. Why is that such a bad gift? Are people really out there like regifting life lemons? If so, we'll take them, especially when those lemony flavors are paired with biotin and vitamin C for healthy skin and hair support. So that was their branding on there.
That's very creative writing on a label.
Yes, and that's what Steve does.
Yeah.
You do branding.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to brand your product, get old Steve. Okay, these are this is a different kind of aspect of love. here it is. All right. Now, love compared to lamenting. This is a spectrum, a range of different positions, opinions between two extreme points. Okay, so this was about when I left my husband. We were married 20 years. After divorcing from 20 years of marriage, probably 30 years before and after, you feel this mourning or loss. After building your life around someone, you have to be your own savior. So this was called Leaving You. Pulling back the curtain, the horizon's turning blue. The sun catches the prism, shooting colors across the room. What does this day hold for me? I'm thinking in my head. Laughter, sadness, joy, or a little thing called regret. Time is surely passing, and I can't wait to decide. Do I finally make this choice to let everything I've known behind? It hasn't come that easy, but it's what I need to do. Telling of my decision, the one that I'm leaving you. So this helps the reader visualize and understand. It adds creativity through emotional intensity, drawing the reader into experiences or emotion. It says, so I said it. The sun catches the prism, shooting colors across the room. This is the actual prism that was shooting colors across the room. I took it with me when I left. It's like it hangs. It's a piece of crystal from an old chandelier, I think. We were visiting a friend in Ohio, and there was in this old house. It looked like it was from the 30s, and they were selling things, and there was a big box of these, and they're from chandeliers that were taken apart. So I have 2 or 3 different ones of these. So I just thought I would show that. It does shoot prisms across the room. So this next one, when I said an aspect of love was love versus lament. Well, this one's about, letting go after being left out in the cold. It's about evolving. And lament the definition of that is divinely given liturgy for processing pain so we can rejoice. And it's called Winter's Landscape. Looking out upon winter's landscape, a scenery of gray skies and stark trees taking shape. The piercing cold is strongly expressed, no shelter to be taken from cutting wind blowing from the west. Not giving any reason to have hope or expect anything good, I remained in these elements along the hillside where I stood. Within one quiet moment, I relinquished all my fears, filling with the Holy Spirit, my salvation is drawing near. With lightness and gentle manner, my heart's begun to ease, as the cold cutting wind has turned into a breeze. The snow gracefully falling as the weight of myself on bended knee. I'm given now to understand, accept, and always in your word believe. So that was my love versus lamenting. As an aspect of love. That was a spectrum, a range of different positions, opinions between 2 extreme points. So I'm just breaking that down.
Very nice. So those last few poems that you shared there, have you ever shared those before with anybody?
The Winter's Landscape one, and I think I did read the one about leaving you. Yeah.
Read that.
But they still kind of,
Well, I mean,
deep emotion.
Like your friends that are listening on Facebook right now, have they ever heard those before, do you think?
Oh, I don't think so. I haven't shared. No.
Yeah, a lot of those haven't been shared out publicly, huh?
No, and I think I skipped. Okay, here's one. It involves you, Steve.
Oh, no.
Okay, so the writer imparts a deeper understanding of the human experience, connecting with the listeners through shared sensory experience. So, shared sensory experience was Lower Whitmer Park.
Okay.
After the COVID shutdown, remember we moved it from the little corner there. Was that Shaw Park right there?
Yep.
Okay, down to Whitmer Park. And this is what I wrote. This was actual paper because back I was doing some figuring on this piece of paper. It was, and this was 6/12/20. So this is the extra paper I wrote it on.
Okay.
So The first crowds gathering after COVID shutdowns, with high alert for people to stay 6 feet from one another, watching for protesting or violence or congregating. It felt like we were asleep or hibernating, and it was like a hyper-vigilant atmosphere at that time. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. And we weren't sure what was going to happen.
Right, and there was a lot of, police officers and things there, okay? I didn't know if you remembered that or not.
Oh, yeah.
This is what I wrote, and you graciously allowed me to read it before we started that night.
Yeah.
Gathering in the evening before it's getting dark, as the lampposts begin flickering along Lower Whitmer Park. A live musical performance is what we like the most, thanks in part by efforts of our corner concert host. The harmony of the music, a oneness with the crowd, along with the combination of individual sounds. The DA, the town council, firemen, and EMTs, the many volunteers, and the protection of the police. Our efforts coming together in this music we partake, sharing an evening together as our town begins to awake.
Wow. Yep, I remember that one.
Yep. That's the first time I think I wrote anything for a specific event.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep. I'm glad you do.
Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, because I skipped over that because I'm nervous here. I'm trying to.
You're doing just fine.
I hope so.
You are. You're doing good.
Okay. So there's different ways to become more poetic. So this is more than just a poetic picture. It's an understanding of the words we use to create and how those words make us think and feel. When we build bridges with our words, we can better understand and interact with the world around us. Whatever you like, learn about it. Educate yourself, because poetry isn't just written, it's lived out. I started writing my thoughts and feelings down in a journal during the time I spent alone, healing after leaving a 20-year marriage, and time spent alone during the COVID shutdown. I wrote about what I was experiencing at the moment using imagery, descriptive words, and vivid language, and words that seem to suspend in time and space. There's a lot of ways to become more poetic. I read my poetry out loud for the first time at Cass Theater during their Friday Night Live event. I'm a veteran of Friday Night Live. Okay, that's one way where I started. And then I started going to Poetry Out Loud. It's an event they hold at Cass Theater. It's a national arts and education program that encourages the study of great poetry. It's a dynamic recitation competition for high school students across America. For the last 2 years, this competition has been held at Cass Theater. This event allowed me to network and acquire valuable contact information. So these kids are great. And there's also a poetry writing contest. It's through WPSU.org poetry contest. You have to have it in by February 29th. It's open to grades kindergarten through 12th grade. So there's still time for that. This came from the Poetry Out Loud. And I got contact information, and there was a lot of great poems recited at that event. So I also I attended events at the Clearfield Public Library that encouraged students in kindergartens through 12 to write and share their poetry. This is the one I just read. It's on February 29th, WPSU is also hosting a poetry contest for children in grades K through 12. Their poems can be read aloud during the broadcast. Go to WPSU.org/poetry contest for details. Now, whether they read it out loud, don't quote me on that. But in October of 2023, the Kerwinsville Public Library displayed poetry artwork as a courtesy of the Ridgeline Language Arts Program. Residents of the dementia unit in the Centric Care Nursing Home wrote poetry after viewing certain photographs. These framed photographs were hung around the library with the poems laid next to them, proving that poetry can be created at any stage in life. And when I went and viewed that, I was reading the poems, and I said to the librarian, one of the librarians, I said, wow, those poems really go with those photos. She goes, well, they were created around the photos, which I didn't understand that at first, but I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so in 2022, I was involved in a 2-day poetry retreat at the Bethany Retreat Center in Frenchville, in Pennsylvania here. I networked and learned so much about creating poetry among poets who've had a prolific amount of their work published. They've earned BAs and PhDs in literature and taught English and creative writing. It was through this experience that I became a member of the Pennsylvania Poetry Society. To become a member, it's necessary to have an established member vouch for you. If you say vouch for something, you mean that you have evidence from your own personal experience that it is true and correct. So I brought evidence of that. This is the envelope it came in. This is my membership to the Pennsylvania Poetry Society. Right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but as my name, I'm paid up until September of this year. So this is my membership. And at that event at the Bethany Retreat Center, there was a list of people that were there and one of them vouched for me. I don't know if I want to show the names, but I'll just flash it up there real quick. These are the people that were at that event, and that's how I got into the Pennsylvania Poetry Society. And like I said earlier, I have 6 poems pending, and I'll know in March whether they chose any of my poems. So maybe the book, this was a 23 when I got the honorable mention, maybe the 24 one will have my name in there, and I will be published.
Yeah. Well, if that happens, you make sure you let us know, and we'll make a big deal about it on the corner concert day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And also, you can get magazines. It's called Poets and Writers. Now, I ordered this digitally, and it was through the Pennsylvania Poetry Society. You start getting things like this at a discount. Yeah, so there's ways of becoming more poetic, and this is what I'm showing. That's what I'm doing.
Networking and talking to other people that are like-minded. That's all helpful.
It is. Yep. It is. And okay. This is what I just said about. I said about I showed the yearly anthology book in the honorable mention, okay, and having 6 of my poems currently pending, okay, and a digital extension of Pennsylvania Poetry Society is Pennsylvania Poetic Voices. It's not a competition, just a way to get my poetry out there with like-minded people. Participating in this over the past year has enabled me to have my poetry recognized, but no monetary prizes are awarded through this. So they've been publishing digitally my poems for the last 6 months. I mean, that information's on my phone, but I'm not going to go through my phone, but I can show you. If you want to see it, it's there. They published them, and I just sent one in just last week. But it's just to get your poetry out there.
Okay.
That's what it is.
They put it out like on their website or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a branch of the digital branch of Pennsylvania Poetry Society.
Okay.
It's called Pennsylvania Poetic Voices, and it's like I like reading what other people put out there too.
Yeah.
So, and another thing I've gotten involved with, which is well-versed words, and this is like people that like teach, and it's like it's so beautiful, and it's about what they write poetry about their personal experiences and things. It's a monthly hour-long poetry reading that's held online through the Zoom app. Well-Versed Words is a nationwide community of poets and poetry enthusiasts. Sunday, February 11th, was the first interactive poetry reading between the host, Allison Hurwitz, and the featured poet, Brett Warren, from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Before the reading started, my name was mentioned, acknowledging that I was watching from Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Oh. So they announced it was nationwide, so I gave a shout out to Clearfield.
Oh, nice.
And Brett Warren is an author and editor. Some of her poetry was about noticing things in nature, a kinship with animals, and how we develop empathy for non-humans, and what we would do to protect their sacred space. Some poems were about resilience and trauma that create transformative experiences. Very poignant and profound experiences were the topic of discussion. And it's just like, just listening to other people's aspects of their poetry and how they created it and their life experiences, like that's very enthusiastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I never took part in that before. And it's like, and when you get into the digital world, there's so much of it out there.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you get involved, then you start getting all these invites.
Yeah.
So maybe someday I'll be on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, you know, it encourages you and gives you something to shoot for, you know?
Right.
Okay, so there was the one that I first saw was January 11th. Well-versed words featured the poetry of Ann Miles from Greensboro, North Carolina. Her poems have appeared in numerous journals and been nominated for multiple pushcart awards. Such beautiful, eloquent work that included her life experiences and how they formed her into the person she is today. So yeah, that blew me away. That woman's. So, and another one is WPSU Poetry Moment series on Mondays at 7:45 a.m. and 4:44 p.m. I listen on radio station 104.7. Poetry Moment highlights the wealth of poets and poetry in Pennsylvania. This series is a collaboration between WPSU and a central Pennsylvania poet who hosts the show. Each week, Marjorie Maddox Hafer, a professor of English and creative writing at Lock Haven University, selects, introduces, and reads the poems of Pennsylvania poets from different regions of the state. And then I put, if you're watching, Marjorie, reach out in the comment section. But when I went to the poetry retreat, she's the one that instructed it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, she might tune in.
And we got to know, well, she's very busy. She's a very busy person. She's very prolific. You know, many books. Yeah, she's prolific. Okay, so in conclusion, poetry should be treated as important because it has contributed to our understanding of how cultural materials are received, preserved, and transmitted from one generation to the next. The transmission is through speech or song and may include folktales, ballads, chants, prose, or poetry. It's part of our oral history. Poetry contributes to our perception, which is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through our senses. Through evoking the senses and understanding the words we use to create, the writer imparts a deeper understanding of the human experience. Okay, so we leave a legacy of our work through great poets such as William Shakespeare, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Edgar Allan Poe, and one of my personal favorites, Robert Frost. Robert Frost is a poet I can relate my own work to. He incorporates traditional elements such as rhyme, meter, and rhythm. In his unique form of nature poetry, he finds deeper meaning in ordinary things. He gives beautiful descriptions of nature, and his poems often examine someone's personality or character traits. So, Robert Frost wrote about his New England farm life. It's a 30-acre farm with pasture fields, woodlands, and orchards, and an overflowing water spring. This farm is located in Derry, New Hampshire, and is a state historic site now. Robert Frost lived there from 1900 to 1911. He developed his poetic voice here, which later won him the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry and world fame as one of the foremost poets. It was during this time he lived on the farm he wrote The Road Not Taken, Nothing Gold Can Stay, Mending Walls, and Dusting of Snow. We attune ourselves with what's around us, and these poems emphasize the interconnectedness of nature and human emotions, highlighting how even a brief encounter with the natural world can bring about a shift in our feelings. So I'm going to read some of my poems, and I'll read his Dusting of Snow, and then I'll read some of my nature poems. So this was Robert Frost's Dust of Snow. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, he's given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Rued is R-U-E-D. It's to feel regret, sorrow, or remorse for one's own wrongdoing, past events with unpleasant consequences. So now this is my poems that I wrote about nature, being connected with nature. It says, as I look across the hilltops, the trees are all in bud, hearing the drills of a woodpecker and the cooing of a dove, listening to the sounds of Mother Nature's song, smiling to myself the further I walk along. It's the green on the grass and the birds that sing so sweet that brings me even closer to the God who created me. And during the COVID shutdown, these were written during that time. This was that I wrote that one 3/27/20, and this one is 3/24/20 as I'm looking out the window. When winter ends, can spring be far behind? As I watch 5 little birds leave their nest for the very first time, each one I had counted away when they flew, when I witnessed at my window the cycle of life being renewed. So these are my forms of natural poetry that show my encounter with the natural world. This one is like evokes the senses through smell, sight, and sound. Imagery adds creativity through describing a scene. The mood is a temporary state of mind, and it adds emotion and feeling. It's called Swirling Leaves. Yellow and scarlet leaves falling to the ground. How cool and crisp the air that swirls them and brings them gently down. All the rustic colors that lay throughout the wood, the way they all smell, the way they all look, creates deep within me a sense of awe and a love of nature's good. So, that was my nature moment in nature. So, is anyone still out there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yep.
good.
Yep.
I'm glad.
Yep, we still
Thanks for hanging in there.
Yep, we still got 5 people in.
Oh, cool.
Casey said, here with Pegatha on our Friday night, starting off the weekend right.
She called me that. She was my daughter's best friend in high school, and they're still friends. She lives in Ohio now. Okay. But thanks, Casey. Pegatha's enjoying reading poetry to you. Okay, and this I'm linking with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's called "The Earth Laughs in Flowers." That was his quote. And I wrote this on 3/18/20. Feeling a warmer breeze that carries the springtime rain, hearing the trills of a songbird returning once again. Flowers not yet to the surface, but the soil beginning to crack, blooming sometime soon, welcoming springtime back. So, now we will move on. So, I was saying about that Robert Frost, his farm in Derry, New Hampshire. Well, I didn't know at that time. I mean, before I knew about writing poetry, being a part of this showcase, or taking part in anything about poetry, I visited Robert Frost Derry, New Hampshire farm. I believe it was in October of 2000 when my ex-husband, myself, and 2 of our friends went on a 3-day whirlwind trip to all the New England states except Rhode Island. We ran out of time because we all had jobs to return to. I remember standing inside the farmhouse and looking at the books on the bookshelves and the little desk near the kitchen entryway where Mr. Frost did his writing. It says, walking around the grounds, I noticed the fruit trees planted near the house and the position and distance the barn stood from the farmhouse. I was standing there in that moment. I imagined myself sitting in the shade of those trees in the summertime. And I just wanted to go walking around the grounds at this place, but it was near the end of the day, and the volunteers said they would be leaving soon. I just absorbed the atmosphere as long as possible and felt a longing for this place I had never known before. There was some kind of pull I was experiencing for this place and couldn't identify the reason or feeling. It's like, now I know. It was the interconnectedness. It was like, why would I care about the position of the barn from the house? I mean, why was I sitting there wondering about that? I was standing there wondering about that. It was like, did Robert Frost write some of his poems in that barn? I mean, why was I thinking about that?
I've been right in that same spot you were in.
And it's like, I didn't even think about it. I didn't think I would ever write poetry. I didn't really know that much about Robert Frost, but it was just on our list of things to visit. Yeah. And it was like, and I'm just imagining myself under them orchard trees in the summer, because this was in October. Uh-huh. And it was just, I just felt a longing for this place. Like it's like I couldn't describe the feelings. Like it's just I don't know. I don't know. I can't describe it. But now, 24 years later, or however long, it's like, yeah, now I know.
That makes sense. Yeah.
We also visited Robert Frost's burial site in Bennington, Vermont, at the Old First Church Cemetery that overlooks the town. I remember how sapphire blue the sky was, and how a huge tree with bright yellow leaves was near the church, and how its roots were uplifting some areas of the cemetery. I actually touched his tombstone as I brushed off the yellow leaves to reveal his epitaph. He had written this poem years before. It was inscribed, titled "The Lessons for Today." He read this poem before the Phi Beta Kappa Society at the Harvard University, June 20th, 1941. Because he died on January 29th of 1963, so this was 20 years before he died. But, all of his, I get emotional now. I think of how I ran my hands across his final resting place and revealed the words I'm reading to you now. What you're experiencing in the moment can interconnect with us in the future. 75 Revolutionary War soldiers who fought and died at the Battle of Bennington in 1777 are also buried there. So I think about that day and I can remember it just like it was yesterday. I mean, the sky was like so blue and the big tree with the big yellow leaves, and I ran my hand across his grave to remove those leaves and read that epitaph. I mean, it's the lesson for today. There's only one line on his tomb. It says, I had a lover's quarrel with the world 22 years after his death. And because I looked at it, it's a very long poem, but that's what was on there. And all of his family's 5 kids and his wife are buried there too. And it was like, when I was thinking about it, it's like, wow, it's like I ran my hands across that, Yeah. And it was like, it was an interconnectedness with Robert Frost. And then I write poetry connected with nature like he did. So it's like, it's just it's kind of profound, I think.
Yeah, that was a very powerful time in your life. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even realize it. I mean, that time in my life, I was very active. I'm not like the person I am today because of all the things I'd went through health-wise and different things. And it's like, it was just, yeah. It was pretty crazy.
Neat.
Yeah, it was.
Good memories.
Yeah. So, all right. Okay. This is about to the end here. Okay. So,
Julie says she's here.
Bye, Julie. That's my daughter. I love you. Okay. So, I've got to go back to this one. Okay. 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 Right. So, let me get this straight before okay, it's almost to the end. Okay, so ways to become more creative. Feed your senses through spending quiet time to let creative ideas develop. Practice mindfulness, a technique that involves noticing what's happening in the present moment without judgment. This can improve well-being and make it easier to savor the pleasures in life as they occur. Stay engaged, connected to emotions and feelings to promote self-awareness. Be a work in progress, just like a poem. And this is a quote from Oscar Wilde: "To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance." Practice yoga, go for walks, take better care of yourself, eat better, and pay attention to your intuition. It builds wisdom. You can feel your intuition in your body. Give attention to what you need to, and go with the flow when you can. Okay, and this is here. Our primary commitment is what life gives us each day. Example, like when a major appliance breaks down, say your fridge, we have to get it fixed as soon as possible or replace it. So that is your focus for the day. Like if something happens like that, that's your commitment for the day. You got to replace that. So through an acceptance of it all, we can have transformative experiences. For me, a transformative experience happens when I spend time in nature. I enjoy going out to watch a meteor shower or looking up at a full moon. In 2024, there will be 5 new supermoons in a row from January to May. So a new moon is when it's in its dark phase. So there'll be 5 of those supermoons in a row from January to May. And there will be 4 full supermoons in a row from August to November. A supermoon is when the moon is closest to the Earth. The closest full supermoon will occur on October 17th this year. So hang on, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Spirituality, the full moon symbolizes deep emotion, completion, and spiritual growth, like life cycles. Emotions can be extreme during full moon, and full moon energy can manifest in different ways. You may feel creative, anxious, sensitive, or exhausted. I wrote this next poem at 5:45 a.m. on January 27th, 24. I believe this demonstrates everything I just explained, and then I'd like to end the evening after sharing it with you. It's called Up from Slumber. Poetry created when planets align, as the moon moves through phases, and the stars fall from the sky. Up from slumber when it alights, clutching a pen in the middle of a night. So many words from which to choose. Often at times I feel confused. Getting those words on paper from ink. It's necessary to focus, necessary to think. All words have meaning with potential to align. Thinking out the process and somehow making it rhyme. Okay, so thank you. So my thank you, first and foremost, goes to you for making this possible. And everyone who joined in tonight, thank you for your support, your donation, and your comments. And a special thanks goes to the staff at Kerwinsville Library, Melanie, Tanner, Samantha, and Kayla. They were my sounding board, my technical support, and it was my comfort zone. And all the guys and gals, all my family and friends, I love you all, and thank you for listening.
Well, thank you for being here, Peggy. And we got lots of comments and encouragement in the comments below, so I'm sure you'll go back through and read those when you get home and look through that. So, again, thank you all for being here tonight. Make sure you share this with your friends on your Facebook and support the Corner Stage Arts and Education Center. That's why I have this big banner here in the background, just to remind you what we're doing this for. And we don't have music here every Friday night. Sometimes we have poetry. Sometimes we have artwork. Sometimes we have whatever it is that you might do that's creative, that would be interesting to share with the world around you. This is an excellent platform. There's no audience here. There's no people to make you nervous or anything.
So I was anyway. I fumbled a little bit nervous.
Right, but that's okay. We're all creative. We're all just trying to put ourselves out there. So I'm glad Peggy was willing to do this and able to do this here tonight. And actually, a lot of the engagement that I've been getting this past week with this event coming up tonight, I had people actually sending me poems in Messenger. And I wasn't sure if they wanted me to share tonight or not, so I have those saved in my Messenger. And maybe you know who I'm talking about. Maybe you might want to come down and share your poems here live for the audience on Facebook as well. So we'll be here next Friday night with a musical group called Nis and Nat, and it's a husband and wife team. And so they'll be here next Friday night, 7 o'clock, right here on the Corner Concert page. And please share this with your friends, share, support, all that kind of fun stuff. And we just thank you so much for being here. And thank you for the donations tonight. That was awesome. So we appreciate that. Anything else you want to end up with?
No, I'm just glad to be here. And I'm looking forward to the Corner Concert Arts and Education Center being built. Mm-hmm. And the fundings. Everything is going towards that. What you donate, you can talk about that. I mean,
right. I don't. Yeah. I'm at the point now where I'm ready to get my nonprofit status, 501c3 status in place. So once that happens, then I can take the next step of looking for a permanent place for the Arts and Education Center. Whether we buy a building, rent space. build space. It's going to be, I don't know how it's going to be, whatever God has in plan. I'm just taking one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. And so the next step is getting our nonprofit status established. And then that way we can apply for grant money and all that kind of stuff too.
So what you donate,
yes,
helps
what you donate tonight and every week goes directly towards the Arts and Education Center. And so, that's the goal we're shooting for. And I think if the community as a whole, if everyone gives just a little bit, just like what we've seen through the corner concert series at the park, we have an audience of usually 100 people, 150 people there, and each person gives $1 or $2 or $3 or $4. I mean, that's a ton of money throughout the summer that gets raised for different nonprofits. Well, this year we're going to be raising money for the Arts and Education Center right there at the corner concert.
It starts on Memorial Day and goes through
Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. Now we are going to skip over. They're going to have the Riverfront Festival right at the beginning of the season.
That's great. Come on down to that.
Yeah, that's going to be music and all kinds of stuff happening there. And then the fair this year is backed up a couple weeks. It's actually 2 Fridays that they're taking up for the fair. It's a longer fair season this year. So that'll be a little change in scenery too. So anyway, we're going to get off here now, and we'll see you all here again next Friday night. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Good night.